just recently and very silently, there was this course created uh, by the Linux Foundation, and somebody from our community, Jorge Lain Fiesta, worked on this tirelessly to create this course. And you can already find it on the Linux Foundation website, and it will be a training. And you can learn lots of stuff in there. It looks really, really good. And yeah, you can enroll today. So that's a huge thing, I think. During our moments and interactions we had, especially at Backstage Con, people were asking for this, and ta-da, there it is. Ta-da. So that's exciting. Do check it out. And yeah, sure. Let's discuss what you think of it. And hopefully we can, for the next community session, we can get Jorge in the meetup to tell a little bit about the creation process, because I have so many questions how it is to create a course like this. Yeah, I think you all would find it very interesting as well. Another big moment, 1.8 was released. So you can find all the release notes in the usual place. I think that there are some really interesting improvements there. So do take a look at the release notes. Also, with all the attention that Backstage as a product has at this moment, we are also basically talking about Backstage anywhere. I was just back from Tel Aviv from a conference, and I joined their platform engineering meetup. We were in many other conferences, and there's one meetup which is around FinOps, which is it's Wednesday, which is then tomorrow. But anyways, maybe the organizer can promote it themselves. So let's take a look.
In the city of London, meeting a FinOps Bank open source program office today. It's an absolutely dreary day here in London. But anyway, I want to tell you about the DevOps Special Interest Group this week. On Thursday, the 17th of November, as we've invited the Backstage team to talk about Backstage and continue the conversation about how Backstage is being used in banking. That will be running from 5 p.m. GMT, which is 12 noon Eastern Time. Compliant Financial Infrastructure has actually swapped to a new date and cadence. And so we're now going to be meeting on a Wednesday. I've sent an email out. I've updated everybody's calendars. Feel free to get in contact with me if there's any confusion. Have a great day, everyone. I hope you're dry at home. I'm hoping to be where I need to be very soon, and I'll speak to you all soon.
I'm so happy to report that the weather where I'm at currently is way better than there. So next up, we have somebody who's an old friend, a familiar face here in the community. And I would like to welcome Himanshu. Hi, Himanshu.
Hey, Suzanne. Good to see you. Yeah, it's been quite some time. Yeah, it was so good to see.
Sorry.
So good to see the KubeCon recording. Always, the physical energy of everyone we know by GitHub usernames are being in the same floor. I think that it still inspires me a lot.
Yeah, all the selfies and all the little side conversations that happen. That's truly powerful, and it shows what a great community this is. And we hope to welcome many more people in the future to this. To such events like this. It's an active discussion, and we hope to announce soon when will be the next opportunity. But not today. So cliffhanger. Sorry for that. But something will happen at some point. Himanshu, it's so good to see you again. For people who do not know you, I think it's good to point out, do a shameless plug maybe for your exploring a Backstage stream that you have going on.
Sure, yeah, why not? So the topic that I'm going to talk about today is something I explored last week. And what I do is I do live streams weekly. It's called Backstage with Orko Hunter. And guess who named it? It was you, Suzanne. So what I try to do is that I pick some of these backstage topics, and then I don't prepare much, but I try to replicate what the experience of a regular contributor or a regular adopter is when they are trying to understand these topics. So it's quite messy, but you would enjoy it if you're an engineer working on Backstage. And if you follow me on YouTube or LinkedIn, search for Backstage with Orko Hunter, and you'll find these videos. And let me know if you want to hear on some specific topic.
Good. So yeah, do check it out. I think they're always fun. Also to rewatch. It's very, I don't know, it's very relaxing actually.
I'm glad to hear that.
Like all the stress like disappears from my body, and it's like sitting back and relax and watching you juggle around with things.
Yeah. So
you're always much more relaxed with this than I am. You're like, oh, the documentation is not right. Well, let's see how we can fix it. Which is one of my favorite comments anytime.
So somebody once told why a platform like Twitch, why there are hundreds, thousands of people watching people play games, because when you're in that position, it's quite stressful. You would struggle a lot, search everywhere, but to see someone else do that while you eat popcorn or your food is fun in itself. So I think that's the reason why these things people like to watch.
And who watches game streams? Like, coding is way better.
I hope so.
That's the best thing. It's a good thing, especially when it's about your favorite project. Anyways, do check it out. So that was a shameless plug. But you're not here to talk about it today because, it's kind of related, of course. But what are you going to talk about?
Sure. So some time ago, I was in a conversation with a very large company, and they told me a story that 1 year ago, they looked at Backstage and they were looking to build something. They found that Backstage was quite overkill. But after 1 year, they're realizing, shit, we are building Backstage from scratch and in a very shittier version. So time to go back to Backstage. And the reason why they didn't choose Backstage was they were kind of put off by the core plugins because they didn't need it. So by core plugins, I mean software catalog, software templates, tech docs, and so on. So today I'm here to talk about, is Backstage still useful if you strip all these things out? And can you still build your internet developer portal with just
strip all the things out?
So if you don't need
exciting.
Yes, that's exactly what I did. Was I just removed all the cool plugins and saw what still remains. Is there anything to use? But to my surprise, there are 16 things that Backstage Core provides, which you can still use if you don't need the core plugin. So I have few slides I put together 2 hours ago, and I'll just take everyone through it if I can start. All right, so Suzanne has disappeared from the screen, and I can start then. So let me reset the timer. And all right, so hey everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how one can use Backstage, the platform, to build internal developer portal without using its core plugins. And to repeat myself, by core plugins, I mean catalog, tech docs, templates, and so on. A little bit of intro if you don't know me. My name is Himanshu Mishra. I go by at Orko Hunter on LinkedIn, GitHub, Twitter, TikTok, and Orkut, and so on. Currently, I'm a product manager at this company called Harness, and I'm based out of Mumbai, India. Previously, if you know me, I was part of the Backstage team at Spotify, where I spent over 2 years working as an engineer and developer advocate on this very loved project by all. All right, it's time to ask ourselves again, what exactly is Backstage? So some of you might know this date, March 16, 2020. This was the date when Backstage was actually announced on this orange website. Some of you might be familiar with it. And it got very high up in the ranking. So it got noticed by a lot of people. And the comment section was a bit interesting. just to read some of it. I don't care if it's open or that I can make a plugin. I have no clue what it does. Someone else says, I just skimmed much of their website and felt like I was still left wondering what Backstage actually does. Is it me, or is this really unclear? It needs clearer messaging, but I think it still looks great. Something you don't understand, but it looks great. Seems like a competitor for Datadog. That's exactly what Backstage was supposed to do. No. So on March 17, the very next day, one of our very favorite product managers, Stefan Ollund, he published a blog post and called, "What the heck is Backstage anyway?" And I'm not kidding. This is the actual official title on the Spotify engineering blog, because we were struggling to explain what Backstage is. But now we know Backstage is an open platform for building developer portals. But is it enough? Because whenever someone asks me, hey, you talk about Backstage all day and my feed is flooded with your videos, but what is Backstage? And I always take a deep breath and say, do you have 2 minutes? Because I can't explain this in one line, right? And why is this so hard? Why is this problem so hard? So for me, it's because of these two words we throw around a lot: platform and developer portal. Platform, by definition, means come, build, do whatever you want. It's nothing in itself. And developer portal is essentially a reflection of the developer experience and the problems a company is facing and its solution. And no two companies are facing the exact same set of challenges. So as you can see, by default, Backstage, like the definition that we have, it's an open platform for building developer portals, has multiple meanings. So that was when it was announced, but quickly after the announcement in March 16, 2020, we worked on three main core plugins: so software catalog, tech docs, and software templates. And then people started relating with Backstage because they were facing one of the existing problems. They were facing the problem of discovery of internal services, or the lack of ownership, or not knowing who owns what in their company. Not a consistent place of writing technical documentation, or not writing docs like code. So if they had ways to write documentation, but they were not up to date and so on. And then standards. There were no standard way of creating new things. It was causing fragmentation across teams. So you would get lesser collaboration. So when these plugins came, people started relating to it. So Backstage is one of these three things and more. But it was still confusing to those who couldn't relate with any of these problems. So let me tell you a story, and let me drink some water before that. Right. So I was talking to BankX, and BankX is a large bank. And 1 year ago, they looked at Backstage and they realized it's an overkill for their needs. Their use case was to create a self-service portal for their developers. And they started with, developers can come to this site and they can get access to various developer tools and systems inside the org. For example, getting access to GitHub Enterprise, creating a repository, creating an active directory team inside GitHub Enterprise, and so on. So in order to remove like logging tickets and waiting for days for an IT admin to come and approve it and do it for them. So that was their use case. Just a platform where developers can come and self-serve. Then demands started, and they quickly ended up adding more things. So getting access to AWS and creating AWS accounts and getting access to resources. Few months passed and users started asking for more, and they started getting more ideas. All right, we have multiple cloud providers. Let's do it for all of them. More ways of provisioning, more ways of access management. Connecting to Terraform Cloud for dealing with resources, and not just getting access, but also creation and modification and deletion of the resources. So that they had to put necessary guardrails, but still let developers self-serve. It was built on a simple Python Flask backend app and React on top. And after a year, now it's grown to become their own internal developer portal. So basic hack project becoming something really huge for the company. However, the requests for features now keep on coming, and at this point, it's extremely hard to extend it, to add new features, and even worse, allowing contributions from their internal team is very hard now because they don't understand how this platform works because it's one large monolith. So after a year, they're now thinking of redoing everything from scratch, the back end, the front end, to make it more like a framework. And now they realize that was Backstage from the beginning. So today I'm here to argue that Backstage without these core plugins is still an advanced framework for building developer portals and still serves a lot of these such needs, for example, self-service for companies. To do that, let's look into what is Backstage Core. And I think about 6 months or something like that ago, we were discussing this when Backstage didn't have versions. We were thinking, all right, let's start versioning Backstage as we'll release it like monthly cadence or something. Then we realized, what is Backstage Core? Is it catalog? Is it software templates? No. So we decided it's a set of packages, it's a set of libraries, and we call it Backstage Core. Right, so here it begins. The things that you get from Backstage without using the core plugins. You get a plugin framework. What I mean by that is that inside your company, anyone can come and create plugins and not have to understand what the existing platform is. So they can just do something, get their own mini source code folder, and they start writing what their actual need is. You also get like front end, back end, or if your plugin is large enough, you get both front end and back end. You get a Backstage CLI, which takes care of creation of these plugins so that they are consistent. You can look at existing plugins and seek inspiration because everyone is not using different stacks for different plugins. Everything is very consistent because they were created from the same tool. It's also very easy to create because when you create a new plugin, let's say a front-end plugin, you have to think about, all right, I need to create TypeScript. How do I handle bundling? How do I handle building, packaging, publishing, testing, linting? So many things. And today in this modern web world, there are hundreds of ways to do it. Essentially, no one knows what's the best way to do it. So there's with using something like Backstage CLI, you get this consistency. And everything is set up for you so that you can just go ahead and start coding. Backstage Core provides you authentication and a user identity by default. So if you're building a plugin, you can be assured that the user is logged in and you have information about the user, maybe their company email address, maybe things they own or the teams they belong to. Or anything that you want can be attached to the Backstage identity, and then you can use it for your plugins. If your plugin is large enough, if it needs a database in the backend, you get it. You don't have to maintain your own database. You just write schemas and migrations and just use database, assuming it's there for you. You get config management. So if there's some configurations that you need to do in your plugin and you don't want it to be stored inside code, Backstage gives you that in appconfig.yaml so that you can add a new key, change things here and there. If something needs to change for, let's say, 1 month, just do it. Just add it as a config inside the appconfig.yaml, and then Backstage library, the Backstage configurator gives you that. At the same time, you can also read configs. So you can read the app, the backend, anything else that's defined in config. So plugins can also share config at this point. You get cache management out of the box. You don't have to worry about setting up Redis or Memcache or whatever. You just use the Backstage cache manager and then start putting in keys and values and so on. You get a task scheduler if your backend plugin is advanced and needs and need to run things on a timely basis, you don't have to write that yourself. You get it from the Backstage backend system. You get integrations, one of my favorites. As we saw in the case of Bank X, they had to connect with the different cloud providers, different source code providers, hosting providers. And with Backstage integrations package, you have connections to all of these third-party resources, and you have well-written APIs to communicate with them, making sure the authentication is taken care for you, the batching, efficient ways of calling these is taken care for you. You get authorization from the permissions framework. So if you need to hide something for some users, hide a plugin, only show plugin for a particular team, you can do that. And more functionalities inside your plugin. You get alerting from the front end to show alerts or show messages, and hopefully notifications whenever Tim decides to work on it. Just kidding. But there's an RFC around notifications. Check it out. But I hope it's there soon. You get a library of shared components. So your plugin developers can look at existing components. There's a storybook. And then your internal developer portal doesn't look like it's a collection of different websites in an iframe. It looks like, all right, the whole thing is made up of one piece. So it's consistent, and then you don't have to write components from scratch. There's some great components in the Backstage Core Components library. All right, I'm getting tired. I mean, this I'm sold, but there's more. Hold on. You get feature flags. So if you want to launch something hidden behind a feature flag, you can enable it. Users can enable it to start using it. That's built in Backstage Core. You get search. It's a platform integrated to search wherever. If you have internal places, internal systems, your users can search through them. And then, of course, you get a one place to search across everything. That's really cool. You get a backend proxy system to enable bring your own backend kind of plugins, where you just define a proxy in the backend, define where should the routes be, where should the net connections be routed to, and then you define like some headers and so on. And then, yeah, you have a backend. You just write the front-end plugin. And the last, but not the least, you get access to the open source plugin marketplace. It's Backstage. There's people working on these plugins. There's so many cool plugins out there on the backstage.io/plugins page, and you can use it. Of course, a lot of these plugins are based out of catalog, but there's so many which you can start using out of the box. And you can also build open source plugins and reuse them. All right, so this is my exploration in just a few hours, but I'm pretty sure there's more in the Backstage Core that a lot of you have used and can add to it. So if you know more, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for listening. And yeah, I'm Himanshu, and thank you, Suzanne.
No. Thank you for sharing this. That is actually pretty inspiring that you can basically think out of the box here. I think that is the challenge. If you scrape away everything, then what could you use this for? And all these components that you mentioned, they are in active development. They are supported by a community. So what would be then possible challenges for going down this road? Are there any things that people should take into account when they would go down this road, or would it all be a happy thing? Or
so essentially, I wonder that you'll start with this use case and then you'll build an internal developer portal of your own. But at some point of time, you'll start realizing the value of having software templates and software catalog. And then you'll have to adopt them, and then it's complete. That's you'll get access to all of the plugins then. That's my assumption. But if not, I believe, yeah, it's you're missing out on a lot of things. So that's all I can say.
Okay, there's a question in the chat. You mentioned self-service for developers. Is it done with custom plugins?
Yes, it's done with custom plugins, but you But in order to build that plugin, you get all these existing core features. For example, integrations that I talked about, authentication and identity that I talked about. So yeah, you have to write your own custom plugin, of course, but you have all the tools you need, and you're probably saving, I don't know, months of engineering hours before you build it.
Tons of hours, and then even what is the result that you have, and how quickly can you get there, and then maintaining it.
Yes, that's the amazing bit. Yeah.
So what you're showing actually is a way for people who do not want to get started with one or all of the functionalities that we usually talk about, that they can actually implement it and then slowly migrate to that, to maybe that richer experience using, for instance, software templates and catalog.
Yeah, totally. And I want to also mention that people are doing it. So actually, if you go to backstage.io/blog, Weaveworks, back when COVID was huge, they used Backstage to create their internal portal where they can share like test results and scan results and so on. And they made it open source as well. I was thinking to include it in my slide, but I can find the link and share in the chat as well. So people are using Backstage as to build their developer portals without these core plugins.
Cool. And yeah, well, I think that people should also maybe look at your stream, because you're basically exploring every component there is to get somewhat more deep insights as well into what you actually could do when you, for instance, will be creating plugins, and how you could go about it. Now you use the documentation, but it is very, very inspiring to watch the video, because you show what is important, I think.
Yes, the one of the reasons why I love Backstage from my heart is because I love the idea of platforms, and I believe personally that any software either lives long enough to become a platform or it dies out. So Backstage is a platform. It's not a packaged batteries included software for you to start using. It's something you build, you customize, you tame it basically to suit your cultural needs, your problem, to solve your challenges. And that's why I love Backstage. And I think there's the possibility of things that can be done is a lot.
Yeah, awesome. So if people have any more questions, you can drop them in the chat, or you can reach out to Himanshu, who is conveniently Orco Hunter on basically any platform you can imagine. So do check it out. I should check out your TikTok though.
There's no TikTok in India.
There's no TikTok in India. Okay.
Sorry,
so I was
kidding.
I was just wondering, what's
but your
there.
TikTok is great, by the way, and especially the drop it from the docs video. That if your code sample is outdated, drop it from the docs.
I don't know if I have that ready, but anyways, so if it's ready, then I will show it like after this. So thank you so much for coming on the meetup. I thought it was really really inspiring. If you thought or have any thoughts about it, please drop it in the chat. Yes, be sure to continue the discussion, of course, on the usual places, be it GitHub or on Discord. And thank you so much. And if you are going down that road, by the way, if you have experience with it, pretty much like to the example of Weaveworks, the link is in the chat as well. Share that. I think these are very interesting stories, which might inspire others on their journey as well, and think outside of the box, which is always a good thing when you try to innovate.
Yeah, and before I leave, I wanted to share some, like, the most exciting thing I'm working on with my employer on Backstage is that, can I start?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Harness, if you don't know, like, it's a pipelining technology. So you can build CI pipelines, CD pipelines, and whatever you want to do. So what we are working on is what our customers asked, that how can we do it in Backstage? Because I don't want my engineers to leave Backstage. So we're working on harness plugins for Backstage, open source, of course, and it'll be launched next month, and hoping you all can try it out. But yeah, looking forward to seeing that adoption and some feedbacks. I love the team who are building these plugins, and it's back to be working on Backstage even after all the change I went through personally.
Yeah, well, I'm already looking forward to this, and well, this is all also being recorded, so you're invited. show us what you folks built when it's ready. But I think that that's very good news for people using stuff from Harness. So that's awesome. Yeah, again, thank you for being here, and yeah, see you around.
Yeah, see you around, everyone, and thank you, Suzanne. Good to see you again. Bye.
Yeah, awesome. So this brings us to the end of this community session. If you want to share anything, maybe something you've been working on, or you have a good story around Backstage, developer experience, platform engineering, inner sourcing, any topic that is related or relatable or valuable to our community, you are invited to do so. So please, there is an issue on our GitHub. I just pasted the link in the chat, and you can, as soon as the post is, the issue is up, you can already add calendar items. If there's none up, you can always either create an issue or respond under the current one that is open, and I will find it anyways and make sure that you get a spot in these community sessions. Thank you so much for watching this. Next week is the contributor meetup, so I hope to see you there. If you have any topics that you want to bring up there, or have any questions, things you want to discuss, then please again use the link below and find the issue for the community sessions, and just paste it in there. With that, I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you around.
Excited about Backstage but don't know where to start? Spotify has a new learning experience designed to help you get up and running with Backstage. Get familiar with key Backstage concepts and technical architecture. And with our step-by-step tutorials, learn how to set up, configure, and customize your Backstage app, helping you to reduce onboarding time and making your developers happier, faster. Get started today. Visit backstage.spotify.com/learn.